Hello there, Dodge fans. This is Dodge Garage coming to you from Gauze Garage. Thanks for tuning in. This is a little bit of analysis on the Dodge brand and the history of it. In 1914, the Dodge brothers got together and started their own company. Before that, they were building parts for Henry Ford, like axles and stuff like that for the truck division and cars and driveline parts. And in 1914, they decided to go into business for themselves, and they came up with Dodge Brothers building trucks, basically. If you ever see the Dodge Brothers trucks, you'll see the Star of David in the front grille with the DB for Dodge Brothers. And lo and behold, they did very well. They were very successful, selling a lot of trucks and doing very well with their company. And then in the flu pandemic of 1919 and 1920, both John and Horace Dodge died within a short time of each other. And the company went up into receivership and was put into a holding company. At which time, after some years in the holding company, Walter P. Chrysler, he came and bought Dodge Brothers. And the funny thing is Dodge Brothers also came with a division that was very good for them. It was DeSoto division, and they had like 50 or 60,000 sales volume that came with the Dodge Brothers. And it was funny because Walter P. Chrysler later said that one of the best purchases and acquisitions he ever made was Dodge Brothers with the DeSoto division. And well, here you have two examples. This is where Dodge was really starting to come out of almost going out of business in the late 50s. Into the early 60s, they started designing cars that were actually something that people wanted to buy. Here's one of them. Not everybody agrees that this is probably one of the better looking darts, but this is the one where it started to get sporty, and they did put a V8 in it. This is one of the GT convertibles for '64. The 50th golden anniversary for the Dodge Brothers. They started in 1914, and 1964 was their 50th anniversary. And they celebrated by putting a 273 LA engine, which stands for Light A. They had another A engine, but it was a heavy thing. And well, in any event, the new LAs were provided good power. They were lightweight and also gave you good fuel economy, and you had maneuverability in the car because it wasn't so nose heavy. Just 3 years later, okay, you had V8s starting to go into these. 1964, the same year, the GTO came out. And Dodge finally responded with their first badged muscle car, and this is the Dodge Coronet. It also carries the RT emblem on there, which stands for road and track. And basically, you had a very high performance engine. Right from the factory, you could drive it to work on the road, and on the weekends you could take it to the track. So that's how RT came about. And the RT debuted solely on this model in 1967. That's what Dodge decided to do, was just come out with it. And then the Charger RT followed into the next year in 1968. And by the way, 1968 was the beginnings of the Scat Pack performance grouping for Dodge cars. So this one came out a year before the Dodge Scat Pack, but this exemplifies Chrysler's thinking at the time of a large displacement V8 into an intermediate B body, and you got what were called muscle cars. And couple it up with that nice AA33 Hemi 4-speed behind that 440, and these cars were quite capable and confident street machines. And literally back in those days, in '67, you could show up at your local racetrack with one of these as a a stock car and actually do pretty good. You would beat a lot of cars out there, but of course race cars are another thing. But this is a very competent and powerful street car from the factory, from Dodge. The end result of the Dodge Brothers being picked up by Walter P. Chrysler. And then meanwhile, back to 1964. This was its humble beginnings. because you only got a 273 two barrel as your option. But you know what? It was funny. Just 67, just the same year as that Coronet, they were putting 383 big blocks into the A bodies for Chrysler. The size of these cars were getting big blocks by just a few years later. So what you see between the two cars is a good example of the Dodge product in the early to late 60s, and as a preamble to the muscle car wars, from your low horsepower cars like this over to the high horsepower, high compression muscle cars like this one, and especially following in the 68 through 71 model years for Chrysler. Their sweet spot for sure. But anyway, from humble beginnings, there you have a beautiful Coronet and a beautiful 64 Dodge Dart GT V8 push button automatic. And this is Gauze Garage. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I love the Dodge product, I love their history, and I love the stories behind it through the years of production. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.